You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 51. Question that I'm answering today is, do you have seasonal body shame? I'm your host, Victoria Wellesby. Let's do it!
Perfect.
I'm Victoria Wellesby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident, fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello fatty, welcome to this episode. How are you? How's life? How you doing? So excited to hang out with you today. I am excited to hang out with you today because guess what? Today I am having a bad body image day. Yeah, woo! I've been waiting to have one so I can talk to you about it and share that yes, I'm a human being with a brain and a body and eyeballs and everything. And I too, sometimes, not very often, will have days where I feel not good about my body. And today is one of those days. And so when I was getting ready for this podcast, I was like, interesting. I wonder why today what I said to myself was, I feel unattractive today. That is what my brain said to me. I feel unattractive today. The reasons that I feel that, so I felt that because I've got some spots on my face. My hair's a bit wanky today. Like it's like almost needs washing. You know, the kind of like, it's like almost ready for a wash, but it's not quite. Like you can get away with it for a day. So this is my kind of getting away with it for a day, but it looks wanky. And also I got it cut like a month or 6 weeks ago and it's due for another cut. And so it's not like in primo condition. It's fine. Anyway, and so those two things alone would not make me have bad body image. And so I was like, well, I often have spots on my face and I often have shit hair, and that doesn't make me feel like my body is not okay. And so I thought, what else is going on, Victoria? And I thought, well, I got an email this morning from the BBC. We would like to consider you as a guest on this show. I haven't heard of the show. The show is apparently, after speaking to the producer, the biggest show in Ireland. So it's on it's called RTE, is the equivalent, is RTE is like BBC, like the number one channel. I don't watch Irish TV, so I don't know. But they're like, you know about this guy? And I'm like, no, don't know who he is. Anyway, so they're having like this debate thing, and they want me to potentially be a panelist. And then they have there's a famous British TV doctor, kind of like Dr. Oz, but less snake oily. So I had a chat with the producer about it, and in the email they used the O word, and I thought, well, yeah, they're going to use that because, they just will. They said, you told me about it, and they said, okay, there's a fee attached, and so we'll pay you. And I was like, how much? The bean counters need to tell you, so they probably don't know yet, but they're going to email me, and this might not even happen anyway. And so I'm like, do I want to do this? Because I'll tell you why. Because the last time I was on the BBC because it's a regular occurrence. The last and only time I was on the BBC for that documentary, Who Are You Calling Fat? The results were not what I wanted them to be. I wanted them to show me as this angelic, perfect human being, exceedingly intelligent, well-balanced, funny, kind. And they showed me as like, you know, some of those things, but, you know, kind of a bit of a dick as well. And anyway, the that show was watched by 2.6 million people. And so I had a lot of trolls reacting to me and a lot of people sending very mean stuff to me. And it was very, very damaging for my mental health and my self-worth. Not my body image, my self-worth of should I be alive? And now I'm someone who has depression. It wasn't good for my depression, and at times I felt suicidal. And so, I really felt like, oh, you know, I've let down the fat positive community. I should have been better. I should have done this and said that. And so they could never have twisted my words, or I should have, you know, not ever eaten anything, quote unquote, unhealthy, because then of course they're going to use that footage. And so it was traumatic for me, and I often think about it and think about conversations I had in that house and feeling like, oh, I wish that I could have on camera conveyed myself in a different, better way. And I'm making it like making it sound like I was terrible in it. It wasn't. Most people watch it and they're like, oh my god, you were amazing, you were so cool, and blah blah blah. I'm being too critical on myself. I think I'm being quite harsh. I guess I just want people to like me, right? Normal human things. You want to be liked and accepted. And, you know, yeah, because like in real life, everyone got along well, apart from one person who everyone hated. I'm not going to tell you who, but it wasn't one of the people who liked their bodies. One person everyone hated. Apart from that, everyone got on really well, and we laughed, and it was just the best. It was the best time off camera. But then when the results came out, it made it look like everyone hated each other and, you know, make good telly. Anyway, why I'm saying all this is because this email from the BBC obviously triggered something in me, reminding me of the negative outcomes from that. And there were positive outcomes. And thinking about this TV doctor, and because what they want to talk about is COVID-19, are fat people at a higher risk from getting COVID-19, from dying from COVID-19? And so this doctor is going to be like, yeah, fat people, and he's got books that are like, oh my gosh, some of the books are like how to do this diet on this so low calorie intake. One of the books, the calorie intake wouldn't be enough for, you know, there'll be more calories in one of my poos, you know, really, like, you can't live on that as a human being. Maybe, you know, if you fed it to a mouse or a hamster or maybe a small rabbit, that, you know, they would be able to sustain that amount of calories. Anyway, so this guy is, I don't know, I kind of feel like he might be extreme. So I'm debating whether to do this or not. And I'm very curious as to how I am already reacting. And I'm in two minds because, you know what, I'm a fat activist, right? And so this is an activism opportunity. And so I could reach people, I don't know how many millions watch this, but I could reach people and show them they're not at blame if they're fat and they have coronavirus. That fat people are members of society, need to be treated with dignity and respect. That's fat activism. I could be doing that, but also, could I be really damaging my mental health? But also, they're going to pay me a fee. So is that potentially worth it? I don't know how much the fee is, and so I'm going to wait to see what the fee is. So if they're like, we're going to pay you €1,000 for this 10-minute TV segment, then I'll be like, yeah, I'll take the risk. We'll see what happens. But if they're like, we're going to pay you €50, I'll be like, no, thank you. as well, because it's in Belfast, and so the Belfast is like 3 or 4 hours away drive, and so they'd send me a car and whatnot, and I'd stay in a hotel, and the show's not on till like 10 o'clock at night, and so I'm like, oh, it's past my bedtime, I need to be in bed. Yeah, so anyway, I share all this because having bad body image is not something that's made in a vacuum. You know, you don't hate your body because you're in a void of nothingness, and then all of a sudden you're like, do you know what? My body is a fucking piece of shit. No. Things have influenced you to tell you that your body is not okay. And so if you are having a bad body image day, then do what I have done and get curious and be like, what could be going on here? Because it's not that my body is bad. Another thing I was like, what else has happened today that could make me not like my body? I put on a t-shirt that I've not put on in a while, and it felt really weird and uncomfortable, and my brain said, oh, it's because you have put on weight. And I was like, oh, you know, whatever, that's fine. I don't know if I have or not, but that was my feeling. And so then I went downstairs and made breakfast, and I was like, I just feel really uncomfortable. And I looked, and it was on fucking back to front. My t-shirt was on back to front, and that's why it felt uncomfortable. But even if it had felt uncomfortable because I'd put on weight, that's fine. But it just felt weird. Just because I had it on back to front. Anyway, I put it on the right way around, and I was like, oh, yeah, it feels better. And so that could have contributed, you know, feeling uncomfortable in a t-shirt. And a t-shirt is something that I should feel comfortable in. And so that could have contributed towards it as well. So, yeah, for those who might have thought I never feel bad about my body, that's not true. It's not true. Now, I might have a bad body image once or twice a year, depending on what happens in the year. Maybe more, maybe less. You know, it's just not really a thing. I don't really think about my body that much. And exploring why I am feeling like that today, it's just exploring it has made a difference. And getting ready for this podcast, I thought, you know what, I'm going to run a comb through my hair. I am going to put on a little bit of lippy. That has made me feel better. And also my hair is still a bit shit, but then I think, you know what, I'm going to put on some sweating pants, and after I've recorded this, I don't know why I didn't just do it right now, but anyway, because, you know, I'm embracing sweating pants a little bit more. If you hear that noise in the background, that's Dougal, my dog, groaning on the floor. Excuse me, Dougal. Such an attention seeker. And it's not about you, Dougal. It's about me. God. Anyway, so explore. If you have bad body image, it's not about you. It is about something else that's happening, probably. And yeah, I was saying, I feel a bit better now. I've explored it. I've said, you know what, all of that shame and shitness that I felt after the documentary came out was not mine to feel. I hadn't let the fat positive community down. I'd done something that was very difficult, living in a house with raging fat phobes for 10 days. Woo, Nelly. Was it 10 days? It was days. It was days. It wasn't minutes. And, you know, I didn't roundhouse kick them in the face when they were spewing all their fat phobic garbage, you know, and they had to make interesting telly. And so they picked out some things that might be interesting and might be controversial. And we all got on pretty well. And so they had to kind of manufacture a few things, arguments that didn't happen. And that's fine, whatever. It's not about me. It's not about me. How people perceive me doesn't change my worth as a human being. And so, yeah, so that email kind of triggering all that stuff up, I can just say, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about my body even. It's not about my body. It's about me wanting to fit in and belong, and to people to like me and not think that I'm a complete dickhead. Yeah, so it's not about me. So I'm just going to let it go, you know? It's not about me. It's not about my body. So since last episode about the weight loss surgery, I tell you what, the episode hasn't come out yet, but I shared on Instagram the stats that I had uncovered in my research, and that post has really resonated with a lot of people, and there have been many comments from people and many DMs from people sharing their experiences with surgery. And so I want to share with you what people have told me after reading the stats about this surgery. I just want to give a trigger warning here to skip ahead. In the show notes, it will tell you where to skip ahead if you don't want to hear people's experiences of the surgery. And what I'm going to be mentioning is negative consequences of the surgery, death, and there might be suicide, a mention of suicide in there. Yeah, but if any of that, if you don't want to hear that because it's pretty tough, then look at the show notes and it will tell you where to skip ahead to miss it. Okay, so here are some comments. You can see these comments if you go on to my Instagram, fierce.fatty. So here we go. Here's the first one. I was almost 19 when I had lap band surgery. I'm going to correct if there's any spelling mistakes because of autocorrect. I had lap band surgery. I would do almost anything if I could go back and tell that girl I know what I know now. And she says that she is X amount of pounds now over her starting weight. I spent the better part of a year not keeping food down and simultaneously aspiring in my sleep for the cost of being thin. My band has been quote unquote emptied, but now would cost $20,000 to have it removed, even though it is still a danger to my body just being there. I'd take it all back if I could. Next, this is one which is a DM that I got, and it says, "Thank you for your post on weight loss surgery. My mum had weight loss surgery when I was young. A few years later, she began to suffer from a serious addictions, with the worst being alcohol. She had multiple suicide scares and attempts. She suffered mentally for so many years. She spent a month in one of the best alcohol rehabs in the country and years in AA, all to no avail. She went through periods of severe malnourishment, and her clothing fluctuated between 8 different sizes over the course of 2 decades. I ultimately lost her in 2017 after an injury related to alcohol intoxication. Her autopsy showed multi-organ failure and dementia at the age of 58. Due to fat phobia and weight loss surgery, I do not have a mum here on earth." And then this person sent 2 photos of the mum, one when they were younger before the surgery and one older, and the younger one is a happy smiling fat woman and the second one is a smaller person. And this person says, "I never saw her as any different in these photos. Thanks again." Next one. "Thank you for this. I had VSG surgery a year and a half ago. I've regained a significant portion of the weight I quote unquote lost and feel like a failure, even though I know the stats. I'm trying to get to a place where I'm making healthy choices for my body without all the diet culture / fat phobia bullshit. But the struggle is real." Next. "I recently lost a friend from complications of this surgery, which was pushed on her by her parents, doctors, society. Her 6-year-old now has no mother. It feels like murder." Next. "I had GB, gastric band, in 2011, and my weight is now the same as before the surgery. No follow-up from the hospital. Now I have to live with pain they can't explain from time to time. I had RNY. RNY is a form of bypass and stomach amputation combined, I think from the top of my head. So I had RNY and gained most of it back, and am now trying to embrace my body. I have so many conflicting emotions: guilt for what I did, what I didn't do, where I am now. I'm trying to discover how to be healthy without dieting. I don't know where I belong, quite frankly." Next. "I have had 2 failed gastric bands. I'm awaiting getting it removed. I live in pain every day. It is ridiculous that I ever underwent the surgery in the first place. And finally, I had one comment from someone who didn't have a bad experience. And in the interest of fairness, I wanted to read this comment because not everyone who has this surgery is going to die, have complications, and not lose weight. There are the unicorns who have a good experience. And so here is someone. I had VSG. While I did not lose all my weight, I 100% do not regret my surgery. Is it hard? Hell yes. It's hard as hell and not an easy way out, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. It has also made me take steps to fix my eating, fix my relationship with food, and fix the way I see myself. It's such a personal journey. We can also have weight loss surgery and still be body positive and still be proud of our bodies pre and post surgery. So that was someone who doesn't regret the surgery. As to you can still be body positive and have the surgery, technically no, you can't, because body positivity is a political movement trying to increase rights of fat people, and this surgery is killing fat people, maiming fat people, amputating fat people's stomachs, all in the name of a cosmetic procedure that Lindo Bacon says is disease promoting. And most people don't become thin. People are having a big response. Actually, someone, who was it? Someone who's got a really big account shared my thing, and she has got, she said she's got at least five people say to her, I was considering the surgery and now I'm not going to do it. And she messaged me saying, you have potentially saved 5 lives. And I thought, oh shit, yeah, like that could, yeah, getting this message out there could save lives. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, if you want to share that post, go to my social media. It's like a handy, it's a 4-page post with all of the stats, and that quote from Lindo Bacon about it being a disease promoting cosmetic surgery at best is what they say. So do that. On social media, it's the images of some clouds and a search bar that says stats on weight loss surgery. You'll find it. It'll be good. So share that. Okay, so today we're talking about, do you have seasonal body shame? So what are we going to be covering is, what is seasonal body shame? The effects of having seasonal body shame, what it looks like year round, and discover if you have 1 season or all 4 seasons of body shame, and also how to overcome it. Now, a reminder that I have a free Facebook community, Fierce Fatty Friends, and I would love to see you in there. Join the party, and remember to answer the questions to get in. We have to reject people every week because they don't answer the questions. And if you've requested and forgot to answer the questions, because it's easy to press a button and not realise, you can go back to the group and fill out the questions again. So you can do that. So are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? Okay, great. We're ready. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because in the Northern Hemisphere, I'll be talking about seasons for the Northern Hemisphere. It is it the end of summer? It's almost the end of summer. In like a week, it's the end of summer. And we're going into autumn, or fall if you're not an autumn word user. And I was thinking, oh, isn't it so nice that so many fat people are moving out of this season, which is sometimes super traumatic for us, for fat people, because the season being summer, because a lot of the times summer, because of the heat, means that you are exposed to situations where you might have to show more of your body, and it might be socially expected of you to wear a swimsuit or to wear clothes that are cooler, and that feeling of, should I show my body and feel uncomfortable because I don't like my body, Or should I stay with clothes on and sweat my tits off and be uncomfortable? And also people saying, "Are you not hot?" And responding, I did this so many times, "No, I'm not hot." Oh, while wiping sweat from my brow and my upper lip, being like, "No, I'm not hot. I'm fine. In fact, I'm a bit cold. Do you have a hat I can wear?" Because I didn't want people to know that I was wearing a hoodie because I didn't like my body, right? So anyway, I thought, okay, it's cool that we're moving out of that season and a lot of fat people are gonna feel a bit better. But then I thought, is it? Is it? Because as we move into the other seasons, there's loads of events that could mean that you feel bad about your body then as well. It's not just summer. So when I talk about seasonal body shame, this is something that I've made up. And what I mean by seasonal body shame is that as we move through the seasons, are you feeling shame about your body because, oh my God, it's summer and I have to wear these things and it's really stressful for me? Is it just summer that you feel stressed about? Or is it autumn? Is it winter? Is it spring? Is it the rainy season, wherever you are? And you might be thinking, yeah, no, it's just summer. But I want to share with you the different ways that I've come up with in my gorgeous noggin that have in the past triggered me a lot and made me feel a lot of shame about my body. Because it's so obvious, the having to wear a swimsuit one is so obvious. And FYI, there's something that I do a lot is wear a bikini, wear a swimsuit, go dancing around like a twat. And that for a lot of people, that is the epitome of confidence. But for me, it is for me in some ways not. But for everyone, it's different. Like their expression of confidence is different. And so in the summer, if you're like, I don't want to wear a bikini, but actually, you know what, I feel fine about my body, I just don't want to express myself wearing a bikini, that's fine, okay? So just an FYI, everyone is different. So if you're not doing these things just because you don't want to do them, then it's not that you're not confident, but if you're doing it because, you know, you really want to wear a bikini and it's your dream, but you don't want to do it because you have a fat body and you think it's bad, well then that would be seasonal body shame, right? Right. So again, apologies, it's Northern Hemisphere I'm talking about. Most of my audience is in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, so yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But, you know, just switch it around in your brain if you're not in the Northern Hemisphere. But it's bizarre, right? When you see people in Australia at Christmas on the beach in Santa hats and you think, what? No, you're doing it wrong. And for people who live in the Southern Hemisphere, that is like the epitome of Christmas. Whereas, you know, a lot of the world think snow and cold and all that type of stuff. Isn't it funny? It's so funny. Anyway, okay, so in the Northern Hemisphere, summer is from June 1 to August the 31st. And so some things that could happen in this season that could trigger seasonal body shame are as follows. And in your head, think, yeah, that's me. Yeah, you know, or no, that ain't me. I don't know what you're talking about, Victoria. So first thing that came up for me is in the summer, we'll do things like have a family vacation. I say we, I mean you. I don't have family. I'm on my own. I'm single, God. So, or a single vacation. So a family vacation or a family holiday. And so some things that could pop up for you there are the one I just mentioned, not wanting to wear a swimsuit, not wanting to go into the pool or going into the pool at times where you know there's less people or at nighttime. Or wearing a cover up until the very last moment before you jump into the pool, and then as soon as you get out of the pool, like grab your towel so no one can see an inch of your body. So that, you know, is that something that resonates with you? Is that something that you do? What about wearing a swimsuit and then posing in a picture for it? Say posing in a picture with your kids, you're all swimming and someone says, get in a picture with them. would you hesitate to do that? Would that be like, oh, no, or you'd have to put a cover up on, or you wouldn't even be in the picture because you don't want memories of what you looked like in that swimsuit if you're even wearing one? Maybe how you feel about your body influences where you go. Maybe somewhere closer to home, somewhere that is more familiar, so you know what to expect. So you know, okay, there's not going to be loads of straight-sized people in, thong bikinis, topless, making out with each other or something, because if you saw that, that would be really difficult and that would trigger body shame for you. Now, what about if you went on a tropical holiday, like a all you can eat, drinks included, activities included, fun vacation, I don't know, maybe with your partner or something, or on your own. The last holiday that I went on was on my own. I went to Mexico on my own for about 10 days. That was pretty cool. And there was only a couple of times that I felt weird, but the rest of the time I was like, look at me being on holiday on my own. Anyway, so tropical holiday. Now, a big thing for people is going on holiday and then saying, well, because I'm on holiday, I'm allowed to eat food. And yes, absolutely 1000% you're allowed to eat food. But what they normally do is not eat enough food beforehand. And so because they're giving themselves permission, they will eat food and drink, maybe drink alcohol or drink, delicious cocktails or whatever. And then when they come home, they regret it. They shouldn't. And, they should be drinking and eating all the time, whatever your body wants and needs. But because they're in a restrictive cycle, even though they might not be dieting, because you don't have to be actively dieting to be still in that kind of diet culture swing of restricting, then binging. And that when I say binging, I mean like eating more than what you are used to, or maybe more than what your body is used to. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when people experience that, they experience maybe trauma around it. They get anxious about it. They feel bad because they've eaten more food than they normally would. And then they go back to that restrict. And you can't stay in restrict for long. You have to go back. It's like a swing, right? And the only way to get out of it is to stop restricting. Anyway, and so on this tropical vacation where it's all you can eat, you might be like, fuck it, because you're on holiday, right? It's normal behavior. But then when you get back, you feel bad, and maybe you've weighed yourself, and maybe you're like, oh my God, I've put on weight, and that is difficult for you. What about all of the amazing activities that they might provide? I don't know, going on one of those banana boats, or going scuba diving, or going on a hike up a mountain. Is that something that will trigger body shame? I know for me, I would be like, oh, if we're going on a boat, I'd be like, well, they're not going to have a life preserver, not the life preserver, the thing that it's probably a life preserver, a thing, flotation device thing that you wear when you're just on a boat. I'd be like, well, they're not going to have one that fits me. And so I don't want to go and have the embarrassment of one that doesn't fit, or one that's so tight that it's like two tiny little things on my giant body. They kind of come down over your tits, and whereas everyone else, it looks quote unquote normal. Or scuba diving, being like, well, absolutely, they won't have anything that fits me. And so I don't want to go through that embarrassment of being like, oh, we have a size 0. Is that going to work for you? Or if it's something physical, like going on a hike, going on a walk, feeling like, well, I don't want to keep up the group. Everyone's going to be faster and better and stronger. And I'm going to be really embarrassed because I'm going to have to take breaks, or I'm not going to be the first in the pack. So do things like that come up for you now? Are you feeling shame around that now? And by the way, the difference now is that still, places won't necessarily have my size, or if they do, it will be insanely tight, or if there is a physical activity, I might be slower. An example is going kayaking with my nieces who are teenagers, and you know, they're like, oh, we've got loads of swimsuits. And they gave me like the biggest, I wouldn't say maybe one of, they gave me, the guy just, the boy, the teenager was like, yeah, this one will fit you. And there was no changing rooms. And I put it on. I put it on fucking backwards. And it was, to get it on, it was just like, oh my God, this is like a fucking workout just trying to get this thing on. And so I got it on, and then the guy's like, oh, that's back to front. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then I had to get someone to pull off, pull it off me, because it was so hard. And then I got it back on. Anyway, and then I got it back. But it was really tight. It was really tight. And then when we went kayaking, the instructor had given me a version of the kayak which is slightly more difficult to steer, because apparently they have like a little thing on the back which makes it go in a straight line or not. And so my nieces both had ones with the thing, and so they were like going ahead, and I thought, you know, I'm going to be pretty good at this. I'm you know, my arm strength is pretty good, but I was like way behind them, and I didn't think, oh, this is bad. They think that I'm unfit or lazy or whatever. I just thought, oh, this is just what's happening, and it's no big deal, and they're having fun and I'm having fun, and I can't wait to jump in this water because this wetsuit is so fucking hot. And so it just wasn't a big deal. And so now, without that body shame, I can just go and do things and not make it mean anything about me, you know, versus say if I had that experience before, it would be mortifying, having to like take this swimsuit off. And by the way, I wasn't in a changing room because I was like, fuck it, I don't care. And then this whole like busload of school kids had turned up, and so there's me like in a fat person in my bikini with someone pulling off this skin tight wetsuit. So that would have been like a horror memory of like, oh my God, I remember that time where that like 30 school kids were like staring at me. And but now it's just not a big deal. Anyway, so that is tropical holiday, or that could be, you know, any type of holiday. Now in the summer, also, if you have children, maybe your children are off school, and maybe your children are off school because of the pandemic, and you're like, fucking get back to school, you bastards. But normally in a year, maybe if the kids are off school, maybe, I don't know, you might be running around with them more and doing activities, which could be something that is triggering bad body image. And as well, you could be distracted because of that, because of bad body image. When you are spending time with your kids, distracted because you're thinking, I want them to see me in the best light, or you're just thinking like, what can I eat? What am I not allowed to eat? And you're just distracted with that. This week, someone posted in my Fierce Fatty Friends group, and she said that she is constantly worried about her double chin, so much so that she's obviously doing things like in photos to disguise her double chin, on Zoom, when if she's doing conference meetings, doing things to disguise her chin, but also in front of her kids. She says she's constantly trying to hide her double chin from her kids. Now, if you're anything like what I was like as a kid, or if you have kids or are there anything like average kids, or if I think about my nibbling, Finley, he's 3 years old, he is like fucking up in my face 24/7, like inspecting my teeth, looking inside my nostrils, like putting his fingers in my ear holes. Like, he is all over me. And there's no, you know, he is not, you know, he knows what I look like, right? He knows what I look like. It's so funny. And I always show him pictures of different fat people because he wants to look at pictures of me on the internet. And anytime there's a fat person, he's always like, Auntie Toria. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. You recognize I'm fat. Anyway, side story. Anyway, another side story. My sister, she was in the car with him last week, and Lizzo's song Good as Hell came on, and Finley, my nephew, my nibbling, said, this is Auntie Toria's song, because he remembered from like a year ago that I danced to this song at the end of my TEDx talk, and I had showed it to him once and a year ago, and he remembered. That was bizarre. I thought it was bizarre. Kids are weird. Anyway, and so in the summer, your kids being home, is that something that triggers body shame? Question mark. Now, most of my listeners are in the US of A. And I was like, do you know what? I know that you have some sort of holiday in the summer where you set off fireworks. I was like, oh, there's one called 4th of July. And then I was like, oh, there's another one called Independence Day. I wonder what the difference is. If you're not like me, you'll be like, they're the same fucking thing. I had them as two different things, but then I was like, oh, this sounds like it's Independence Day. Yeah, it is. It's Independence Day. And so Google told me, Wikipedia tells me that on 4th of July, Independence Day, people, it's a cultural norm, because I don't know what you do. You do fireworks, family reunions, concerts, barbecues, picnics, parades, baseball games. That sounds fun. But also, isn't it racist, that holiday? I don't know. Anyway, clearly I don't know anything about 4th of July. So, I'm presuming barbecues, picnics, parades, it's 4th of July, it's probably going to be hot. And so in those days when you're out in the public, engaging in these things, will you be wearing a nice summer dress or some shorts or something to keep you nice and cool and something to keep you feeling good in the day? Or would you choose something to cover up more? What if you do wear a summer dress and you go walking and you get chub rub? Do you blame that on you? Are you like, oh my God, look at me, I'm so fat, I get chub rub? When so many people get chub rub. Straight size people get chub rub too, you know, depending on what their legs are doing. And so are you blaming how your body behaves and making it into something bad versus this is just what bodies do? Yeah, and are you uncomfortable wearing, you know, like I would, hoodie, jeans, fucking woolly hat, scarf, everything to cover myself up versus wearing something that's cool and comfortable? So that's summer. Now, they're the things I thought of on the top of my head, but you could have other things happening depending where you are in the world, different holidays or celebrations, or in there is my birthday. Different things that could be happening for you that is a trigger for seasonal body shame. So let's move into autumn or fall. So autumn is from September 1st. I thought it was later. Anyway, whatever. September 1st to November 30th. Now, what happens in autumn? Because I was like, oh, autumn, you know, fat people, we can wrap up in our woolly jumpers and everything is great and fine and, you know, we feel good. Well, a few things that I thought about in autumn that could trigger body shame is, the first thing I thought of is Halloween. Now, as a fat person, it is very hard to find a Halloween costume, especially in the store. You know, you have all these pop-up Halloween stores. Oh, I fucking love Halloween. It's so good. Or these pop-up Halloween stores, and then you'll have like the straight sizes, and then you'll have, if they have a plus size option, it will be plus size. One size fits all. You're like, no, that's not how sizes work, especially for plus size. And so in those moments, are you like, oh God, see, I'm so fat, I can't even like buy a costume. Why is it so hard for me? And then if you buy a costume online, if you manage to do it in time, it's really expensive, and the costume will come and it'll be absolute total shit. These costumes, right? They charge so much. Like some of them I've seen are like $100. And it comes and it'll be like a piece of like sellotape wrapped to material that's like as thin as toilet paper. And they're like, yep, $100 please. And yeah, and so then when you put it on your body, you know, it probably looks like shit, unless it's, you know, a good one that you've managed to find. And so then in that moment, are you blaming yourself because this costume looks like shit? Or are you like, fucking hell, this costume is shit and it's not worth this? Or it's too small, and it's too small. They have misrepresented the the size, or is it too small and you're blaming your body again? And as well, like as a fat person, I think a lot of fat people have to be a bit crafty, especially like with Halloween, because I actually, I did. I bought a costume a Dorothy from Wizard of Oz costume, and I got like the platform glittery shoes and everything. It was fucking amazing. But that's, I think, the only costume that I bought, and I remember it was so expensive. And I was new to Canada, and I was like, "Oh, this is how much shit costs in Canada, like $5 billion for a Dorothy costume and shoes." Anyway, no, it shouldn't cost that much. But since then, I have made all of my costumes, because Halloween's a bigger thing in North America than it is in the UK. So just an FYI, my costumes, in case you're curious, I've been Madonna, and the Madonna when she had the pointy tits, and so I went to like a thrift store and got all the different materials and stuff, and I got like padding to put in the tits, and the tits, I made them like a meter long, and then they were on top of my tits, which are already big, and so they were these giant pointy tits. It looked so good. It was so funny. I dressed as Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife. I think her name was Beth, and I got balloons, put them under my tits, because she's got big tits, and so again my tits were huge. I think I just like costumes that make my tits super huge. I think that's what it is. One time I was Edward Scissorhands, and again I made the costume. I was an Oompa Loompa, I made the costume again. I was a 90s person, and so I got like a fanny pack, and I made these, they used to have those baggy trousers. I got a skirt and like kind of sewed it, and then made a top and blah blah blah. I won best costume for that outfit. It was really good. So, are any of those things about Halloween triggering for you? Now, in autumn as well is Thanksgiving, for those who celebrate Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is in November in the States, and in Canada, I think it's in October. It's earlier anyway. So Thanksgiving is, should you go home to celebrate with family and have the risk of people commenting on your body, have the risk of commenting on what you eat, what you wear, and you might not have seen your family the whole year, and this is the first time you've seen them since Christmas, maybe. And who's going to be there? Are they going to talk shit about fat people? Are they going to be talking about their new diet or whatever? And so that could be triggering for seasonal body shame. Now, let's move into winter. So winter, December 1st to February 28th. I don't think these dates are right. They seem too like on the nose, at the beginning of the month. I think these are kind of general. So don't set your calendars by these dates. I just Googled it and this is what came up. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't think these dates are right. So December to the end of February is winter. So the big one is Christmas and spending that extended time with your family. And Christmas is more likely when the long lost family members come. So Aunt Mildred comes and is like, oh, haven't you got fat? And saying shit like that. Yeah, that's a good way to help people feel ashamed about their body. And gift giving, and maybe people buying you clothes in the wrong size, or people looking at what you're eating, or buying you gifts of chocolate but then being like, oh, she loves chocolate, she's so fat, or things like that. All sorts of fuckery goes on around Christmas. All sorts of things that will trigger bad body image. And it's not your fault, by the way. It's not your fault that this shit happens. Now, for me, just like on the flip side, so you know what the difference is for when you don't have body shame, is that if I see a long lost relative, I'm just like literally today, a cousin of mine. So remember, I have, I can't remember, a billion cousins. 45, 55, can't remember how many. Let's say 45. One of my cousins, he's 22, so I hadn't seen him since he was about 6. So this cousin came over because I'm in Ireland, and so this is kind of like the hub for where all the family comes. And this cousin came over, and before I would always just be like, feel embarrassed and think, oh, they're judging me because I'm fat. They think, ooh, look how fat she is. And especially because he's like a 22-year-old guy, I'd be thinking, oh, he's just like, oh, she's gross, and oh, my cousin's so embarrassing, he was there with his girlfriend. And it would be a trigger. Whereas today, I was just like, oh, come on in, what you doing, what's going on, where you going, chatting about stuff, no big deal, see you later, had my lunch, off you go, no problem. And of course, you know, he didn't come in and say, well, look at you, you've got fat. But if that had happened, then, you know, I would have been like, whoa, you've turned into a dick, you know. So, but then there are some older family members that think it's okay to talk about what you look like. What are you doing in your life? Have you got married and had kids and all that type of shit, which is, can be triggering. So as well, around the Christmas time, the holidays, around the holidays, is there a holiday work party? This would be a big one for me. Holiday work party. And so my holiday work party would be fine. But if I had a partner at the time and they had a holiday work party, I would be really nervous about it because, so my last partner, he was this hunky scientist. Because I used to always date very stereotypically attractive people. He kind of looks like a more hunky version of that guy, Dexter. He was in 6 Feet Under as well. Do you know what I mean? You know, the Dexter, the serial killer? Oh, what is his name? His name is something, three letters or something. Anyway, whatever. He kind of looked like that, but like even, you know, hunkier sort of thing. And me, looking at me, I'd be like, well, he's very charitable to be dating me. He's clearly such a good guy to date a fat person. This is like his charitable work for the year. So anytime that I was with this guy for 6 years, my last partner, so anytime it was a work Christmas party, I would be like, try and make myself look as good as humanly possible, because I didn't want his colleagues to be like, oh, why is he with her? He's got a fat girlfriend. Oh, gross. I wanted them to be like, oh yeah, oh my God, your girlfriend's so hot, you know, or something like that. Just, ugh. Now I'm just like, ugh, fuck that, like, who cares? But as well, with that boyfriend, there was this one girl that he worked closely with, and he would talk about her a lot. And when I saw them with each other at the Christmas parties, I always kind of had like an off feeling about it. Like I always felt kind of a little bit jealous or something. Anyway, after we broke up, that within, I don't know, 6 months maybe, he started dating her. And he's still dating her now, like years later. And I'm like, well, my suspicions were probably, I was probably right there somewhere. I don't think he cheated on me, but still, you know, that added another layer, because I thought about her being at the Christmas party and being like, well, I have to be prettier than her because I had a suspicion about something. But after a while, because I was with him for years, after a while, I felt like I was quote unquote better than her, because one Christmas party, I was the designated driver, and she had drunk too much, and in the middle of the highway, she opened the door and like threw up everywhere, and I was just like, yeah, you're gonna be embarrassed by that, and I was like, shut the door, we're gonna die. And so I was like, I'm more responsible than you. so I got a boost of self-esteem because she threw up in my car. So she didn't throw up in the car, but she opened the door. But still, she probably didn't even remember that happened. And I was just like, yeah, I'm so much better than you. when I've thrown up in cars loads in my time. So so carrying on with winter, the winter is a bit of a doozy. We've got the new year, new you bullshit. So this is a big time for people going on diets, people starting gym memberships, and we all know, what is it, the date by like the 14th of January, people have quit their diets and they go to the gym once and never go again. And so there is a lot of body shame and guilt that goes in with starting these diets and starting the gym memberships, because they're not coming from a place of, do you know what, I feel really good about myself and really good about my body, and so I just want to go to the gym and stuff like that. It's more likely it's like, I feel like a piece of shit. I've eaten food over the holidays and I've put on weight, and therefore I need to lose weight. Now, it's not, people don't always put weight on over the holidays. I have a theory, I don't have any data to back this up, that the intuitive eaters, our weights are pretty stable throughout the year. But people who are on the diet roller coaster, they'll, like I mentioned with the, going on holiday and having all you can eat stuff, they'll be like, oh my God, this is amazing, because they're allowing themselves, and the holiday times, they're allowing themselves, because it's a quote unquote special occasion, to eat food, and then they feel guilty. And so they might then temporarily lose weight then in January, and then something else might come up, they're a human being and they need to eat food, and they might put weight back on, and etc, etc. And so that whole kind of everything being about food at the holiday times, for me as an intuitive eater, I'm just like, yeah, the food is nice, but whatever, the food is nice all year round. And yeah, there's like nice, memories around certain smells and, maybe cookies baking and things like that. But I don't feel this kind of desperate, like, oh my God, I need it. I just like, yeah, I can take it or leave it, because I know that I can have cookies year round, or I can have eggnog. Not that I eat that, not that I drink eggnog, it's fucking disgusting, but theoretically I could have eggnog all year round. Maybe I couldn't. Yeah, maybe I could. You probably like find it on Amazon or something. But anyway, so that is a big trigger, the new year, for seasonal body shame. Now, winter ending in the end of February, something that happens in February is Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day is a big one. So a lot of people, they feel sad if they don't have a partner. Not everyone, obviously. But you might feel that if you don't have a partner, it's because you're too unattractive because you're fat. You're too unlovable because you're fat. It's too hard to date because you're fat. I mean, it's hard to date. Like, it is hard to date. I'm currently trying to date, and I'm just like, most of the time, I'm just like, oh, fuck it. I'll just fucking I'll stay alone. I don't care. It's bullshit. And so you might have all of these things, this kind of shame around why you don't have a partner, and making it that it's because you're bad because of your body. Or if you do have a partner, are you concerned that they are like, oh, you've put on weight, I'm gonna leave you? Or thinking like I thought about my partner, they're so charitable to be with me, and so you make an extra special effort on Valentine's Day because they're so kind to be with someone like you. Bullshit. So yeah, Valentine's Day can be a difficult one as well. Now, our final season is spring. Spring is March 1st to May 31st. So something that happens in spring is, in the USA, 9th of May is Mother's Day. Father's Day is 20th of June. We also have things like Trans Parents Day and Non-Binary Parents Day, and depending on the country, they're all kind of spread out through the year. But US Mother's Day is in May. And so a parent or a primary caregiver's a day to celebrate them can be tricky for a lot of people, because your parent or caregiver might have been a massive knob. They might have been good or great. That's wonderful. Good. That's great. But so my dad, so when it came to Father's Day for my dad, when I was a lot younger, when he was like, he was dealing with cirrhosis of the liver and undergoing a transplant, and he was a dick to my mum and all that type of stuff. And I remember he loved getting hand-drawn cards, and I loved art, and so I'd always draw him cards. And I remember on Father's Day, I made him a card, and I put like hardly any effort in it, and I just like drew it with a biro or something, and then I wrote from Victoria, and he spotted that, and he's like, you have to write love on there, love from, and I remember then I put the love in afterwards, and he always kept all of our cards. And I remember seeing that card, and I seeing the added love, because the from was capitalized, and then it said like love, capital, from, capital, Victoria. And because I didn't want to give him a card, because I was angry at him for being an alcoholic. I was angry at him for being a dick to my mum, and he was very domineering and controlling and all that type of stuff. And so I didn't want to, but I had to, because, you know, if I didn't, then I would be in trouble if I didn't make him a card. Now, as I got older, and my dad died a few years ago, I I'd still would be, there'd be something about it, right? I'd be like, well, you did, technically you were my father. Did you, as a kid, you really let me down? You became better as an adult, but there was always something there, right? And then towards the end of his life, I could appreciate that he had a ton of mental health issues and blah, blah, blah. Now, what about, so do you have any type of relationship like that which stems from being taught that your body is not okay? So with my dad, my dad was pretty neutral and positive around fatness, whereas my mum would be very like, oh, being fat is bad, you're a lazy lump, things like that. She was good in so many other ways, and so I never felt begrudged to give her a Mother's Day card or celebrate her, because she tried her best and had mental health issues as well. But that is not the case for a lot of people. And so when it comes to these days, it can be very triggering and make you feel angry about how you were raised. And also, if you have kids, perhaps these days where parents are celebrated, you feel guilty because you know that you are passing on bad body image to your kids. If you yourself have bad body image, because it's, it happens through osmosis. You can't, kids are smart, man. You remember that, me telling you about Finley one time, hearing that song and then saying his auntie's song? Woo, kids are smart and they remember things. So another thing in spring is Easter. Now, Easter can be, again, another one that kind of triggers memories of what you were allowed as a kid and what you had access to as a kid. And did you have chocolate, or were your siblings allowed chocolate and you weren't allowed chocolate because you were the fat kid? Or is there a lot of joy around Easter? Is there the feeling of, if you have chocolate in your house around Easter, feeling out of control? And because if you're in that diet cycle still, having access to these chocolates and then being like, feeling desperate to eat them and feeling like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You need to eat the chocolate. And so what body image stuff comes up around Easter for you? Now, something that happens a lot around different areas in the world in February 20th, around that time, is Carnival / Mardi Gras. So this happens in New Orleans, in Europe, in South America. It doesn't happen in, actually it does happen in the UK, in Birmingham and London. There'll be Mardi Gras festivals. I'm not sure if it's in February, but maybe it is. I don't know if there's a certain date for it, but anyway, Mardi Gras in February. And so Mardi Gras there's a lot of people in amazing costumes and a lot of people in, bras and small underwear and showing a lot of skin. Now, that could be, I know there's a lot of people who are plus size who do it, and that's amazing. But are there people there and you're watching them and they're straight size and feeling like, oh my gosh, their body is better than my body, I feel ashamed of my body. Or if you had the opportunity to be in the carnival, saying, no, I don't want to. I don't want to expose my body in that way, even though you would love that experience. So is that something that is triggering for you? So they are the kind of holidays that I thought up in my gorgeous brain for this different seasons, but there are things that happen all year round. So for example, your birthday. Now, your birthday could be something that is difficult for you. You could be feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm getting older. And because I'm getting older, I'm less worthy. My body is getting quote unquote worse. I will never be as young and gorgeous as I used to be. It's all downhill from here. Or you might think, yeah, fuck yeah, it's my birthday. Woo, I survived another year. And, you know, obviously it's different for everyone. Or you could be with it as well, you with birthday. You could be taking stock of the year that was behind you and the year ahead of you and making judgments about yourself and your body of, you know, have you put on weight and have you not done enough to be good in whatever way, good around food or good around moving your body or whatever. You know, it's kind of like something to take stock at the end of the year and your birthday as well. As well, parties. You're going to have parties throughout the year, and parties would be a big thing for me of what should I wear? What are other people wearing? Is it going to be more casual? Is it going to be more dressed up? Am I going to look good enough? Are going to be people going to be eating? Should I eat in front of the people? Because will they judge me? Because they're like, oh my God, there's a fat person eating food. Look at her, she's disgusting. So should I eat before I go? Or but I'm hungry, and should I drink? Because if I drink, then I might get hungry and eat food, and then people will judge me, etc., etc., etc. Oh my God, it's exhausting. It's exhausting not liking your body. And what about work events? Feeling like you're not good enough, you're not dressed professionally enough. Feeling like, oh my God, you might get fired. I always thought I'm minutes away from being fired all the time. And how do I look? Do I look, especially as a fat person, it's hard to get professional clothes. And so fat people are accused of being unprofessional all the times because of the clothes that we have available to us, especially people who are on the higher end of the fat spectrum, super fat, infinity fat people. As well, hanging out with friends. And so doing those different types of activities. So I know, going for brunch with friends and then picking a place where there's only like tiny stools with armrests and feeling like you don't want to say to your friends, oh, hey, by the way, that seating is not good for me. And then not going or not going because that one friend is going to be there who talks about diets and how she's so fat and horrible, or you do go and you have to listen to them talking about diets, and maybe you join in because you want to be sociable. Maybe they're doing physical activities and you're anxious because they don't understand that you might be slower or not, or worried that they hear you being out of breath or not, or just them judging you. And of course, you know, we have different friends, and some we're ourselves with and we're absolutely close with, but then there are other friends who are kind of like we're not as close with, or they're newer friends, or they're frenemies, friends that we shouldn't really have in our lives. So is that something that is a thing for you? And what else? What else is going on in your life that is something that's recurring, something that comes around all the time? Maybe something that's yearly, maybe something that's monthly or weekly even, or daily, that is triggering for you. And so triggering for that shame that you have or you might have around your body. For me, previously, when I didn't like my body, my big triggers would be that summer season and me sweating my tits off, being like, oh no, fine, I'm not hot. Victoria, your hair is soaked with sweat. Are you sure you're not hot? No, that's just hair gel. What are you talking about? And as well, New Year, feeling like I want to be good. I just want to be good. I want to be thin. I want to be an athlete. And so I'm going to start doing all these things, and they're not sustainable because weight loss is attached to them. And then, I would stop doing them because it wasn't sustainable, and then I would feel like a big piece of shit. And family gatherings where I hadn't seen people in a while. And because living in Canada would mean that most people I wouldn't see in a while, and especially like older relatives who wouldn't follow me on social media. How dare they not follow me on social media? And so they hadn't seen what I looked like in a few years, and just being like, oh. And it's a phrase around my family. I don't know if it's an Irish phrase, but it's around my family. People, they say, they see you and they say, you're looking well. And I would always, every time I'd hear that, you're looking well, it wasn't something, they weren't saying you look like a fat loser. They were saying you're looking well, but I would just hear, I have assessed your body in the millisecond it took before me saying that. I've assessed you and I've made a judgment, and I'm saying you look well. And you look well feels like, oh, you're here, versus if they really thought that I looked good, they'd be like, you look good. Either way, I wouldn't want that judgment on my body, and so it would be stressful for me. Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this subject is to show how body shame is not limited to one time of the year, summertime. It's not a once in a year event for most people. It's not, just at the holiday times and then also in the summer. It is year round. It is month after month, week after week, day after day. And this is not even talking about the kind of low hum of discontent that's disliking your body, that low hum every day. Disliking your body feels like constant, just a pressure on your brain of, catching yourself in the mirror and feeling like, I don't look good. I should be thinner. I should stop eating. So my question is, how many times do we have to travel around the sun before really focusing on this stuff? Or saying to ourselves, there's more important stuff to focus on. This stuff, if we don't work on it, we'll be with us forever. And we've seen it. So many people who have shame around their body, it's a intergenerational thing. Their caretaker, their parent, their mum, their grandparents, their aunts, whoever, have passed it down to them. And so this stuff, it's not like this is just going to be last with one person. If one person hates themselves, that's it. That's the only one who's affected. It affects everyone around. And so if you think, okay, well, maybe if I live to 80 or 90, so 90 years, this will go on. But if you have children or if you know other people, then their lifetime could potentially be affected. And the people around them. Like, how many hundreds and thousands of lives and years do we have to waste by feeling like we're not good enough because of, not having a partner on Valentine's Day, or going to your work Christmas party and feeling like your partner is too attractive for you, or whatever it is, any of the things I mentioned. This needs to end here. This needs to end. You deserve to have a whole year, every single season, with fun and joy, and not constantly thinking that you're not okay. And even if it's not constant for you, even if it's just something that comes up once a day or once a week, that's still too much. You don't have to feel like that. Things can be different. There is another way to feel about yourself. So you just don't even have to think about it that much. And yes, there'll be times where something will happen and you'll be like, don't feel so good today. But let that be something that is so infrequent. Let that be something that happens once every 6 months versus once every 6 days or every 6 minutes or whatever. You deserve to have that freedom away from shame. It's not your shame to feel anyway. You've not done anything wrong. You're just trying to live life in your body. Your body is not wrong. It's this society that teaches you that you should be ashamed. And, you know, these events that happen that trigger that shame. And it's not yours. It's not yours to hold. That shame is not yours to hold. So let it free. Kick it into the bin. Yeet it into the sun, as the kids say. I'm in touch with the kids, yeah. Okay, so that is the end of our episode today. I hope that it has been enlightening in some ways. And I'm glad that I've hung out with you today, because I'm feeling so much better about myself, and you know, life is good. It's all good. It's all good. And I hope that, you know, I hope you feel good after listening to these episodes, and feel a little bit more fat positive versus fat negative. We don't want that. So thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with me. Reminder, go hang out with me in my Facebook group, Fierce Fatty Friends. Oh, and guess what? I started TikTok. Yes. And I've made 2 TikToks. And I started with 2 followers when I put my first TikTok up. And now I have like 70 followers. And my first video has got like 800 views. I don't know where. I think TikTok probably push out your first video so that you get like, so you're like, ooh, 800 views, people like me. But yeah, if you're in TikTok, go follow it. But if you're not, don't worry, because I also post the TikToks on the Instagrams. All right. Okay, well, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Stay fierce, fatty. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to the episode. And if you feel ready to get serious about this work and want to know when the doors open to Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my signature program where I teach all about how to overcome your fat phobic beliefs and learn to love your fat body, then go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. Again, that is fiercefatty.com/waitlist to get your name on the waitlist for when Fierce Fatty Academy, my signature program, opens.